Joining us now, New York Times opinion columnist David French, executive editor of More Perfect Union, Faiz Shakir, and staff writer at The Atlantic, and MSNBC political analyst Ashley Parker. Ashley, this is so interesting to me because this Epstein thing is so sticky to the base, to the loud voices of the base, the ones that whip people up online. And it's the one thing that I haven't seen the president in this 2.0 version of him be able to shake.
Right. I mean, I love that pebble you don't see coming, smashing your windshield image, Katie. It's just so evocative. But you and I have watched the president, going back to his first campaign in 2015, 2016, shake just about everything, from the Access Hollywood tapes on. And I've been thinking a lot about this, too, and talking to people in the president's orbit and elsewhere. And one explanation that I have been starting to hear about, but that makes sense based on the time I've spent talking to Trump voters going back to his first campaign, is that at its core, this is more than about just Jeffrey Epstein, right? There was this idea, and it had more than a kernel of truth in it, that helped propel Trump to power the first time, which was that the politicians in Washington, the bankers in New York were giving you a raw deal. They told you could get a house for 5% down. That was responsible. Suddenly your house is foreclosed upon. The economy is tanking. And none of them are getting punished. There was this sense that the elites did not play by the same rules as you and I played by. And frankly, it was a true sense. That's something I've heard articulated recently by Democrats as well, right? Going back to the financial collapse. So you have that on one end. Then its most extreme manifestation, of course, if you just bear with me, is the QAnon conspiracy theories. But in that range, the reason this won't drop is because this is so central to who Trump is and who his base is and what they expect from him. He is somebody who is fighting for them against the deep state, against the bureaucrats, against the shadowy Washington regime that is trying to get one over on you. And so this is sort of emblematic of everything that contributed to his rise.
You know, it's interesting. You hear Bernie Sanders and people on the progressive left, now Democrats more mainstream as well, talk about how the billionaire class will get away with things that regular people can't. Faz, how has Bernie Sanders not fallen into the same hole that Ashley was just describing, of putting yourself in a position where you benefit from this idea that you're going to fight the elites for the average person, so much so that Donald Trump now is potentially going to get stuck in an Epstein quagmire?
Well, to understand Trump and how he thinks about power, those with money, he's seeking to extract from them. He wants them to bend the knee and serve him. He's not looking to take them on, takes them on when they don't bend the knee, i.e. Elon Musk. If he does, it turns his back on Trump, then he's going to go after you. But ultimately, if you're Saudi Arabia, if you're Jeffrey Epstein, if you're the Goldman Sachs CEO, if you're the NVIDIA CEO, he wants to extract love and admiration from you. And so that's the nature of the way in which he thinks about relationships with the powerful. And Epstein obviously fell into it. And for a lot of folks on the right, they're seeing this play out because the commitments to do something about Epstein were wound up by Trump himself. He goes on Fox News in 2024 in the middle of the campaign, and it says very directly to them that, yeah, I'm gonna release the Epstein files. This is something that needs to be done for justice. And then, of course, early in his administration, a lot of people didn't follow this part. He brings people to the White House, 15 right-wing influencers, and he has them hold up binders, white binders. On the front of the binder, it says Epstein Files Phase 1. And they're supposed to go out to the press pool and hold these up and take photos with these binders, because it's going to be the beginning of apparently a whole bunch of disclosures that he then turns his back on and Pam Bondi reneges on. And so, of course, if you're a right-wing influencer, you've been wound up by Trump. You've been told these commitments. Now, of course, he's backing down, which is par for the course of how he thinks about his allegiance with the powerful.
Yeah, so we're showing that image. Is it just, I guess, did he just think that would be enough? Did Pam Bondi think it would be enough to hand them a binder with a Epstein Files logo on the front of it? Hand these folks? Did they think that they were just going to say, wonderful, great, you've kept your promise? Did they think that these people were merely sycophants, David?
Sure they did. Of course they did. I mean, and they had every reason to believe it, because for almost 10 years, every time Trump contradicted a promise, every time Trump pivoted, every time Trump did something different from what he promised, he had everyone fall in line. This is something he's had for almost a decade. But this is different. This is more than just anger at the elites. This is a very specific complaint that is deeply felt and very dark, that is in MAGA. If you spend much time in MAGA circles, you will encounter a lot of people who, it's not just that they think the elites are out to get them. They think the elites are covering a global pedophile ring, that America is run by pedophiles. Now, the extreme version of that is the QAnon, but the Epstein controversy is part and parcel of this. And so, you know, in evangelical culture, you'll have movies that make giant amounts of money about child trafficking. Child trafficking are words that you hear constantly in parts of the right. There is this conviction that child trafficking is happening all over the United States of America, often directed by elites. And if you believe that about people, and you believe the Democrats are doing it, for example, you're going to wrap both arms around the guy that you think is going to stop it. And that's what they think about Donald Trump. And that's what they've thought about Donald Trump from the beginning, which to all of us sounds really odd, because Donald Trump was Epstein's friend, for crying out loud. Donald Trump has a history of sexual misconduct. But this is core. This is fundamental to why some of these people are even with Trump in the first place. And so for a lot of them, believe it or not, this will shock a lot of listeners or viewers. This is the very first time they will have thought that Donald Trump has lied. This is the very first time. And when they and you can see it absorbing throughout this culture, and it is shaking them at a very deep level.
There was something interestingly sanguine about Donald Trump when he was asked about this, the Epstein Files, months ago on Fox News. He was asked by Rachel Campos Duffy, the transportation secretary's wife, if the Epstein Files are going to come out. And she's asking it in a way that, you know, she's got energy behind it. Is this going to happen? This is what people want to hear. And then Donald Trump, and Fox only played a portion of this, we're going to play the whole thing. Donald Trump is interestingly kind of like, well, you know, maybe, but maybe not. Let me play that.
Would you declassify, you can answer yes or no to these.
Yeah.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so, because, you know, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there, because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world. But I think I would, or at least
Do you think that would restore trust? Help restore trust?
Yeah, I don't know about Epstein so much as I do the others. Certainly about the way he died. It would be interesting to find out what happened there, because that was a weird situation, and the cameras didn't happen to be working, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I'd go a long way toward that one. The other stuff I would.
Maybe sanguine was the wrong word. It's like he didn't see it coming. He wasn't fully aware of how invested his supporters were in this conspiracy theory, how invested they were in the idea that Donald Trump was going to come out and release it. For him to say, I don't know about Epstein so much, I'm not sure that I want to release all of that. It's like, Ashley, there was that pebble, it's a small thing, it's going to fly right by you. Oh no, it shattered my windshield.
Well, it's also like that pebble, to keep the analogy going, like that pebble in your shoe it's a little uncomfortable, and then by the end of the day you have a horrible blister or you can't walk. When you look at what he said, and he says, some of this Epstein stuff could really ruin lives. It's sort of like he knew that some of these images, right? And again, we don't exactly know what is in the files. That's first and foremost. There's a sense that there may be a list. There may not be a list. That list could, for instance, be flight logs or data of people who were friendly with Jeffrey Epstein, which, of course, by the way, is President Trump. And so it's like he knew that if names come out, there would be names like his, not to say that he was on any list or that any list exists, but names of people who say socialized with Jeffrey Epstein, who are in photos partying with Jeffrey Epstein, who in previous iterations said positive things about Jeffrey Epstein and their shared affinity for women and young women. In all these cases, I'm, of course, describing the president himself. And so I wonder if in that instance, the pebble was a little bit of foreboding of what going down this road could mean.